If you remember the last time I was here, I was very, very emphatic that Trump's comment presented an opportunity for us to utilize that period to acknowledge that we have problems, but that these are the things that we have done and these are the challenges that we are facing. Where can the United States come in and assist us? And I am glad that the administration sent in a delegation there and they met with them and discussed these issues. Now, let's not make any mistake about this. The previous administrations failed. You don't build a nation overnight. This president is not going to end this insecurity overnight. I am glad that he has taken some steps, particularly with the declaration of state of emergency in the security sector. However, it should go beyond declaration. We have to see the necessary steps that are taken to be able to make that emergency declaration worthwhile. Okay? It's not enough to say, I have declared a state of emergency. And it also doesn't mean that you must continue to throw money at the problem. Because that is one other thing that I have discovered that is a problem in Nigeria is that, look, security has become a commercial enterprise. There are people who are benefiting from insecurity in this country. And so they want us to continue to throw money at the problems. Because as more money we throw at the problems, the more they continue to benefit. We have to seek accountability for the money that we have spent already, even as we are taking steps, permanent steps that have to be sustained. Security is not a one-off thing. You do it today, tomorrow you relax. No, you must continue to up your game at every point in time. Anytime there's a lapse, the criminals will exploit that lapse and they will relaunch. So it has to be sustained. Whatever thing that is being done must be sustained by this administration, sustained by the administration after it, sustained by administration after it, and that is how we'll be able to come out of this problem.
You spoke about sustainability and you spoke about accountability, throwing money as a problem. And I think that is where Pastor Tunde Bakare's comments come in, because he was quite disappointed in the National Assembly. He said he thinks that it is a shame that we had to wait for external intervention before we saw the National Assembly demand for some sort of accountability, which is something that they ought to have been doing. Do you see a role for them here?
Of course, look, I have experience from a country where their legislature works. The executive is not responsible for funding any of our military expenses. When we needed money, we went to the legislature. The legislatures are the ones who fund the military, not the executives. And the executive do not spend any money that was not appropriated by the legislature. And the legislature don't just spend the money. They come down. I remember when we were in Afghanistan and Iraq, there is virtually no month that we don't have a delegation from Congress coming to see how the troops are doing. And interacting with ordinary soldiers, not just interacting with the general officers commanding, right? Interacting with the foot soldiers to know exactly what is happening. Because that's another thing that is also happening is that when all these top government officials come, they don't have interaction with the people who are actually supposed to be doing the job. They stay at the top, talk to the generals, the generals don't know what is happening on the ground. If you want to know what is happening on the ground, go and talk to that foot soldier who is actually there, who faces this threat and this danger on a daily basis. That's when you will get good idea of where you come in. Everything relies on the politicians, particularly the National Assembly. The National Assembly must not only appropriate funding, they must also oversight the funding that they are appropriated. Because we can't continue to throw money endlessly and we get nothing at the end. We will continue with this cycle of violence so long as we continue to do that same thing. Anytime there's a problem, you throw money at it, and you don't get the outcome. And there are people within that value that are determined that they will continue to make fortune out of the misfortunes of other Nigerians.
But you know how it is. And when it comes to security spending and how it is always shrouded in secrecy, and even with members of the National Assembly, how sometimes it is, it is easier to get through the eye of a camel than for the camels to get through the eye of the needle than for you to be able to get an exact breakdown of what monies were actually used for without them being under some bogus cover and some bogus explanation as to how, you know, it's a security matter, we cannot go further than this.
Well, that there tells you why we are failing. And that there tells you that even the National Assembly is in cahoots with these people who are benefiting from this insecurity. I don't see what is classified in saying, look, this social amount of money was budgeted. Look, U.S. defense budget is a public document. Mm-hmm. It's made public. Everybody knows. First and foremost, they will debate it at the Congress. Everybody will see it. They will see what it's paying for. I don't see why that should be classified. You should not spend the people's money without the people knowing what you are spending their money on. This is the taxpayer's money. The taxpayer has a right, deserves to know where and what you are spending their money on. There is nothing about classification about that. Classification is only in terms of maybe the details of the equipment that you purchase, the softwares, the hardwares. You don't need to discuss all those things. But Nigerians can know that, look, we are buying 5 F-35 fighter jets. They should know that, okay, we are buying 4 guided missile destroyers. They should know all these things. And this is how much each one of these cost us. This is how much we have budgeted for maintenance. This is how much we have budgeted for the platforms. There is nothing that is supposed to be secret about that. It's not complicated.
Well, I do know that, you know, when we look at the number of issues to really look at, Captain Bish Johnson, when we look at it, but for you, given where we currently are, and given the results that we've seen yesterday, we did hear that the Air Force was pounding some bases of terrorists in certain parts. We also still heard that, you know, a church was attacked in Kogi State. A bride was kidnapped in Sokoto State. A bride and her bridesmaid were kidnapped in a community in Sokoto State. So we still see these pockets here and there. Given where we are with some of the steps we're making to try and correct and get back our security architecture, what more do you think we need to be doing now? What in the next couple of weeks, where should we be at if you were to give, you know, a quick look forward?
Okay, that in itself is also a problem, in the sense that each time we have problems, we just want, you know, just quick fix solutions. And then 1 month after, we are back to the same problem again. I don't subscribe to quick fixes. I subscribe to sustained strategic planning solutions that will permanently resolve the problem.
Do you want to give us an example of one in about 30 seconds?
An example of one is that, look, we have to look at our borders. Our borders are too porous. Our neighbors are too destabilized, whether it's in Chad or Niger or the Sahel or Libya. So long as those borders remain porous, we will be running in a circle, because if we fix what is inside, the outsiders will come in again and the thing will continue. And if you look at the hotspots where these problems are taking place, they are usually in those states where you have these natural resources, natural mineral resources. Anywhere you have illicit mining activities, there's always insecurity, because now all the warlords will want to create their own territory, and in so doing, problems will be, security problems will emerge. So we have to look at, and unfortunately, some of those states are border states. So we have to take seriously our border management and control. Secure them. If we need to build fence, the former chief of defense staff was even going in that direction. If we need to build fence in certain places, let's build fence. Let us also review our ECOWAS protocols of free movement. The world has changed, and we must also change as the world is changing. If those protocols of free movement are no longer serving our people, remember, I listened to your last people that were here, and everybody knows it, that the #1 responsibility of government, that's the primary assignment of government, protection of lives and property. Every other thing is secondary. So if we have to review those protocols that allow influx of people into our country that we don't know what they're coming here to do, let us do that.
All right, I think it's a fine place to leave it. Captain Bish Johnson is a retired captain in the U.S. Army. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. He's also a national security and defense strategist. Thank you once more for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.